Okay, here we are at this step. I'm having trouble focusing the camera, so just so I show you. This is the biscotti dough after you have incorporated everything into it. And as you can see, it's mooky, and since you can't feel it, I'm just going to tell you, it's a sticky dough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the dough onto that pad that I showed you earlier. And as I mentioned, each batch will make 2 loaves. And I know you're probably thinking, well, that loaf certainly doesn't look like any biscotti that I've ever seen in a store, but this is just the process. So let me move that out of the way. And like I said, of course you can't feel it, and you can't smell how wonderful that dough smells. It's yummo, even to eat raw, but who wants to do that? Me. But anyways, what I do is I pat my hand in some flour. As you can see, I have it pushed off to the side in the corner. And just kind of touch the dough up. Okay, I've got to readjust this. I don't know if I can. You're not going to be able to see this very well. That's the dough. And what I've done is I've just basically put some flour on my hands so that, because the dough is really, really sticky, as I said. Whoopsie, I'm trying to hold this with hand. And I'm going to cut this in half because I'm going to work with half at a time. I'm just going to pick up and scoop that piece of dough over to the side, and I am going to show you, oh, gosh, I just can't adjust this. And now I have biscotti dough all over it. Well, what I'm going to do is, as you're going to see, I'm going to put the palm of my hand in that flour, and I'm going to shape this biscotti. And I'm going to just keep my hand nice and floured, and I'm going to shape it into a log. Now, ideally, if I wasn't using my left hand to hold up this iPad, I would be able to show you that I use 2 hands, but you don't have to, because all you're really going to do is, if I had my second hand usable at this point, I'd be bringing the sides in, and with the palm, just pressing and tapping down. And just do this very lightly. Get your hand floured so that the dough doesn't stick. Not too much flour though, just keep wiping it. And try to keep, what the idea here is to keep it even on the sides and the middle, and the top. So you get the general idea. You're going to make it into a log. Now I'm going to set this back for just a second so that I can utilize both hands. I'm sorry you can't see it. I just can't adjust it. But I can talk, because that's something I'm good at doing all the time. So I can talk as I'm using both hands and I'm shaping it into this log. And basically, you want to make the log maybe about 2.5 to 3 inches wide by about, 12, 14 inches long. Something like that. I don't get a measuring stick out and measure it. I just do it. Okay, now I have shaped this log. And I'll tell you, I'm doing this on the pad, shaping it. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Boy, my iPad is a mess right now, but that's okay. Here's what it looks like. Can you see the log? It's pretty nicely shaped. I'll do a little better job here. Trying to make it even as much as possible so that it bakes evenly, as you could see that from the other loaves. And those speckly things that you see in there, of course, are your toasted yummy almonds. Now, I have already been working with cookie sheets, and what I have here is just a flat cookie sheet, and I've got a piece of parchment paper on it. And so what I'm going to do I'm going to move my loaves of biscotti on top of each other so I can set that down. And I'm going to use this flat spatula and ease up my log and move it onto, and I'll have to reshape it a little bit onto my cookie sheet. Now, I don't normally shape it after I empty it from the bowl to begin with and flour up my hands. When I split the dough in two and I just eyeball it, I pick that chunk of dough up and I form it right on the cookie sheet. That's what I normally do, but I was trying to show you what the dough looked like and how to start forming it, and that's why I just started to do it right on the Silpat. But normally I do it right on the cookie sheet because it's a lot easier, and I'll show that to you now. I am picking up that second chunk of dough, and as you can see, it's here. It's got a little bit of flour on it. I still have some flour on my hand. And then I am actually placing it onto the cookie sheet. Let me show you. There it is on the cookie sheet. This is formed, and I'll straighten it up a little bit and make it more even. And this is the one I just picked up. So it's a lot easier to just go ahead and do it on the cookie sheet. So now I'm going to use two hands and basically this part of your hand right here, and I'm going to spread it down on that flour again and just shape it. Doesn't take too long. It's just a matter of just patting and squishing the sides in together, front and bottom, and then just try to make your logs about the same length. I'm almost done here, and I'll show you both of them. The only reason I'm videotaping this is because a lot of people love biscotti, and it is really easy to make. It's just, if you haven't seen it made before, it's a little intimidating, and you think, oh, I can't do it. But if you see it and you understand the texture of the dough, it's easy to make. And once you make them, I think you'll make them all the time because they're really good. Okay, 2 loaves. Better hold on to that on the cookie sheet. And as you can see, maybe ½ inch in height and about 2.5 to 3 inches from side to side. And the length, I'd say, is probably about, I don't know, I've got them 12, 14 inches. And I'll just play with them a little bit more because as you can see, when it's baked the first time, it does spread. And always, when you're making any kind of baked goods, cookies, doughs, breads, always make sure you're using fresh ingredients, such as for your baking soda, baking powder, because that makes a big difference in how everything will turn out. And I'm just saying that because most everybody knows that, but boy, just to have to go through this, all this, you know, the trouble that you go through just to bake and set aside the time, and for it not to work very well is kind of, frustrating. So, now, here I have just 1 egg. This is in addition to the 3 eggs that you used for your dough. And I just have a brush here, and I'm just going to brush the top of the biscotti with the egg. And the reason that I am doing that is because I like to put sanding sugar on top of the biscotti. You can use regular sugar, but I like the actual sanding sugar because it crystallizes and it's a chunkier kind of sugar. Now, that's the biscotti. As you can see, it has a little bit of a gloss to it after I put the egg on it. Now I'm going to look for my sanding sugar, and this is sanding sugar. I think you can see it's crystallized. It's chunkier. It's kind of on the lines of kosher salt as far as the shape of it. So then I just take it, and as you can see, I'm just sprinkling it all over the top of that biscotti. And I'm usually pretty generous with it. This will not burn. It'll kind of melt right into the dough. Now, the biscotti, I'll show you, is going to go into the oven. And the actual recipe for the biscotti is 350 degrees. Oh, let me just double check that. 350 degrees for the first baking. It'll be between 20 and 30 minutes, and I would just suggest if you're using regular bake 350, set it at 20 minutes and check it. I will sometimes insert a toothpick in the middle and check it to see if it's still doughy. If it comes out clean, then basically it's done. I, for biscotti, have the option with my oven of using the convection oven, and I will set the temperature at 350 and it automatically reduces down to 325. So basically, when you use that method, it only takes about 20 to 22 minutes for the first cooking and not the full 30. I like it because it's biscotti, twice baked, and it cooks it faster, and it, like as you can see, it really gives it a nice even coating. But your regular oven does the same thing. You just have to cook it a little bit longer. So I'm going to go put it in the oven. And I'm setting my timer for 20 minutes. And I'm not going to check it. Oops, I'll come back here. I'm not going to check it really because I have already baked 4 prior. The oven temperature is perfect, and I've baked all of them at that 20 minutes. So the next step is going to be, I'm going to clean up, and you don't need to watch me clean up now, do you? I think y'all know how to do that. So I'm going to clean up, and then I'm going to get the counters ready, and I'm going to show you how I keep touching this one that's trying to cool. I'm going to show you how I cut the biscotti. Oh, I shouldn't handle these like this because they could break. You can either cut the biscotti straight across and have them all even, or the traditional at an angle. So I'll show you both. And then what you're going to do is get a cookie sheet. You can still use the ones that you've already used, whatever type you want. And you're going to lay them flat on the cookie sheet, and then you're going to stick them back in the oven, and you're going to bake them, I'll have to look exactly how long, about 10 minutes, and then you're going to, after that 10 minutes, flip them over to the other side and bake them for another 8 or 10 minutes. Then you're going to take them out and cool them, and then you're going to eat them. And then that's when you know that a biscotti is also called a dunker, because they're great in hot coffee or tea, or just with an ice cold glass of milk, or just plain, whatever you want. Sometimes I'll take these biscottis and I'll dip the ends in chocolate, and so we'll have like a half chocolate biscotti, almond biscotti. And sometimes most times I just leave them plain because they're just that good. Okay, be back in a minute.